Listen to my podcast about sports. Howdy, Ags from the Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Today's sponsor, Matthews Electric, full service electrical contractors in the Brazos Valley. No job too big, no job too small. Call Blaine at 979-220-6403. Light up your home, light up your life. Well, folks, today you're stuck with just me. Corey's off delivering packages, making people happy for Christmas. Don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Send us some commentary on the YouTube. Subscribe. Rundown. We're going to talk a little playoffs. We're going to talk some recruiting, a little news and notes. And then that's about it. So let's start with a couple of news and notes. Cassius Howe named Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC. First time an Aggie's done that. 11 and a half sacks so far, one more, and he ties Myles Garrett for the all-time single-season record for A&M. KC wins the Paul Hornung Award for the most versatile player in the country, over 1,400 all-purpose yards. Trey Zune gets the Jacobs Blocking Trophy for the SEC's best offensive lineman. He trophied that one with the Proctor from Alabama. And honestly, Zune is just better. All SEC honors to KC, Zune, and Howell, first team. Some third team recognition for Rio, Basantis, and York. So guys getting recognized, obviously, with a good season there by the Aggies. KC and Cassius also predicted as top 2-round picks in the NFL draft this year. See how that comes out. Non-Aggie related, Penn State hires a coach finally, Matt Campbell from Iowa State. A guy that for a long time didn't want to leave Iowa State, and so they were able to get him. I'll tell you the truth, they should have started with Matt Campbell. He's probably better than any of the other candidates and fits that position better than any of the other candidates they even looked at. Once Cignetti was off the board, that should have been the guy they focused on. Unfortunately, it took them a long way to get there, or fortunately, I guess, because they lost their for all the rest of the country, they lost their entire recruiting class. But Matt Campbell's a good hire, and I think ultimately that's going to serve them well. A&M recruiting signed the full class. Every single one of the recruits signed in the early period, signed early in that period. Class somewhere between 6 and 9, depending on what service you look at as far as the rankings. Something like 27 players, 1 5-star, 21 4-stars, 5 3-stars. Breakdown: 3 corners, 2 safeties, 3 linebackers, 1 interior defensive lineman, 3 edge guys. That's the defensive class. On offense, 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen, a quarterback, and 3 tight ends. They got a kicker and a punter in the group. Pretty well-rounded class overall. I think they got some really good players. They got some speed in this class. I think the cornerback group is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, with Arrington and Hamill and Singleton. I mean, all those guys, and you put those together with a group of corners from last year, I think that's going to be a position of strength for the Aggies going forward. The wide receiver group, I think, is really, really strong. Aaron Gregory, for sure. Warren, Brown, a legacy guy, right? And Williams as well. I mean, they got size at the wide receiver group as well. This group has the potential to be, to really come in and be a part of those next groups of explosive playmakers, along with the guys from last year, obviously, and some of the young guys that are going to continue to be in that program. So very well-rounded class. Look, the quarterback Kasuga, I'm really intrigued by that guy. I think he's one of those guys that's kind of he's kind of a playmaker, right? He's got some moxie to him. He's a decent, good athlete. He can, quick release, just kind of get the ball out. So very intriguing player there. The linebackers really can run. I think that's something that they were looking for. Is guys that can cover sideline to sideline. Three tight ends. It's a lot of tight ends in one class. Only one defensive tackle. That's maybe the downside to the class there, but they got three last year, so you know that that's going to be a group that they mix in with last year's group. Um, and only three offensive linemen. Well, they added Hunter McKinney as a preferred walk-on, uh, who's a guy that obviously everybody knows the name McKinney, who's played. Guys, his dad played offensive line here. His uncle played offensive line here, so a guy that is going to be a part of this program and be a contributor, even if he doesn't end up being a starter for this. He's going to be a contributor as a practice player and everything else. But with that family, I think that's a guy that you wouldn't be surprised if he ends up uh, and those bloodlines if he ends up being a guy that contributes on the field for this team. But the McKinneys are Aggies, baby. Gotta love it. So the class, like I said, once again, really good. The running backs, excellent group of running backs. KJ Edwards and Baker are both big time players. They did a good job of getting Baker in here kind of in the last second. But KJ Edwards is an explosive ball player. Sort of this is high praise, but in the mold of a Devon A-Chain, right? So, that guy's got some go to him. I'm excited to see where that group goes. So, like I said, good class overall. Elko and his staff, once again, phenomenal job putting together a group of players that I believe they believe in. They like the makeup of the kids. They, where the type of player they are, but also the type of person that they are. So that's going to be a good group. And you put it together with last year's group, and I think you've really got a group of kids that are going to set this program up for success going forward, right? Um, I wanted to revisit, on the season a little bit, and last week's pod, obviously kind of a downer after the game, but I want to refocus this a little bit and remind people and get people excited again about this Aggie football team, because at the end of the day, this season was an incredible success. Yes. Was it a horrible ending? Yes. But as I went back and looked at that, watched that game again, I really thought that, man, the pressure of the undefeated season was really getting to these guys a little bit there at the end. They were playing so tight, man. And I felt that, you could almost see it in the film, right? Like they weren't that loose, explosive, just kind of go make plays group that we saw earlier in the season. You know, Owens tripping over and falling, when he's got space. Just guys, it just seemed like everybody, Marcel, the same thing, like everybody was playing very tight. And, hopefully getting through the season, getting that loss off your back, getting that perfect season off your back, just allows you to come in, let loose a little bit, stretch, get away from the field for a couple of days, which they did, and kind of come back and a little bit looser. And that's gonna be all right. And so yeah, you lost that game, whatever. But I want to get Aggies back to this point where we got to remember how good this team has been all year long. We got to remember the things that they've done all season long. The fact that they are 11-1 and in the playoffs, something the Aggies have never done is make the playoffs. This has been incredible, right? And so do not, you know, I know, and look, man, you heard me last week. I mean, that was one of those deals, but I don't want to change the narrative here to all of a sudden this team didn't accomplish this or this. No, no, no. Forget about it. They beat all expectations from anybody around the country. They did the things that we thought they needed to do to get this program where we think this program should be, where Aggies deserve this program to be. The 12th man has been absolutely phenomenal for a long time. They were phenomenal all year long this year. Every game at Kyle Field was an absolute crazy madhouse. The 12th man contributes financially, they contribute with energy, with passion, the whole shebang, and they are getting what they deserve right now is a program that lives up to those kinds of contributions from its fans. And you gotta give Mike Elko a lot of credit for that. You gotta give these players a lot of credit for that. Mike Elko's the rest of the coaches, obviously. And so shout out to those guys for what they have accomplished so far and what they are going to accomplish going forward, because on December the 20th, we get Miami at home at Kyle Field at 11 a.m. kickoff to go try to start a run to a national championship. And so that is an incredible accomplishment already. Playoffs Aggies, that's what I'm talking about. Love it. Um, this is a great place to be right now. This is a great place to be for this program. Recruiting is up high. The momentum is running high. Next year's recruiting class is going to be even better because of this success. Keep on pushing it, right? And we've got guys coming back. Next year's going to be another year. We're going to have an opportunity to have a lot of success. So let's see what happens from here to then. But this is where this program needs to be. There's a lot that has to happen from here to then, from here to the end of the season, and then from the end of the season through the off season. And, we'll cover all that. But man, it's exciting. You should be excited to be an Aggie fan right now because we are in unprecedented territory as far as where this program is at the moment, which is a far cry from where we were with Jimbo Fisher, who was just absolutely destroying everything that we wanted in this program, right? That couldn't meet at single expectation at any time throughout his tenure here. I mean, just incredibly poor job on his part. And so to turn that around as quickly as Elka has done, I think is phenomenal. Some playoff matchups. Let's go through those playoff matchups. We just talked about the playoffs. So first round of the playoffs, Oregon gets James Madison. That's a good place to be as the number 5 ranked team there for Oregon. I don't expect this to be much of a game. I believe the spread is something around 21, over 21 points. So 21 and a half maybe. And I would probably still take Oregon. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about these matchups next week, right before the game times. But, that's one of those things. Yeah, it should be. Would you want to be number 5 and play James Madison and kind of have a little warm up game before going into the next round? Maybe, maybe it's more of a almost guaranteed spot in the second round, right? A guaranteed win in the playoffs. Yeah, sure. I mean, that's end of the day, the goal is to win a championship, and to win a championship, you're going to have to beat good teams, and so let's go for it, man. Ole Miss gets Tulane, another game that shouldn't be all that close. Of course, in this case, you got a new coach in Pete Golding for Ole Miss, so maybe something different happens there. But I fully expect Ole Miss to really run away with that ball game against Tulane. Obviously, Ole Miss at home. You got Bama at Oklahoma. Bama at Oklahoma, the night game on Friday. That's a big one, right? Bama at Oklahoma. Now that's a matchup that we want to see in the playoffs. That's what a playoff matchup should look like. That's what we're really talking about. This is for entertainment, fellas. We want good games in these playoffs, and we'll talk a little bit about that. There has to be something done in how things are these 12 teams are chosen because it doesn't do college football any good to have the matchup of Oregon, James Madison, of Ole Miss, Tulane. Those things they're not going to provide any entertainment here, right? That's not what college football fans want to see. Oklahoma versus Alabama, which is a rematch from a couple of weeks ago where Oklahoma went to Bama, beat them. Now Bama's got to go to Oklahoma. Can the Oklahoma defense do what they did a few weeks back? Can they get some, you know, continue to hurt and, stop Simpson and do the things that they did to Simpson, Ty Simpson there? And can that Oklahoma offense score enough points? Because we know the Oklahoma defense can play. Can they score enough points to get that win at home? And then obviously Miami at Kyle Field against Texas A&M, 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday, the 20th. I know we all wanted a night game. Hey man, you're preaching to the choir on that one. Wanted a night game. Apparently, the TV deal and the way it worked out, whatever. Either way, we end up at an 11 a.m. kickoff. It's not going to stop the 12th man from showing up and showing out, right? So this is still going to be just an absolute monster of a game at Kyle Field. You should all be ready to go absolutely kill it there and just, support these Aggies. Let's make Miami very, very uncomfortable in that stadium. Um, I'm so excited about this matchup because that's a game you want to see. That's a game you want to see. Yeah, could the Aggies easily could have been 5 or 6, maybe should have been 5 or 6, right? They definitely got a better win than Oregon. They got a better loss than Oregon too, right? Like, or maybe not a better loss because Oregon lost to Indiana, right? So, but they got a better wins than Oregon. So who Oregon really didn't, their best win is maybe USC, right? And so as you look at that, could we have been 6? Yeah, maybe. But at the end of the day, look, man, we get Miami, and that's a real football game, man. That's a real football game. Now let's go take the challenge. Let's go take the challenge. Let's show up. That's gonna be fun to watch, man. That's what college football is about. That's a matchup that we want to see in the playoffs. That's what college football should be about. I don't want to watch the Aggies play Samson, Samford, and you know UTSA. No disrespect to UTSA, Utah State, whatever. No, man. I want to see these games, these matchups. Going to play Notre Dame, playing Texas, playing Florida, playing Auburn. Those are the games that we want to see, right? And so this is a great matchup, um, and it's exciting. And we're going to get in depth next week on obviously the specific matchup with Miami. Um, and the winner gets a chance to go face Ohio State next round at the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma Bama winner, they get to go face Indiana. I mean, whoever whoever gets there, that's what a matchup. What a matchup. I mean, this playoffs are going to be so much better than last year's because of the fact that, the rankings were straight up, right? Ole Miss will go play Georgia. That's going to be a rematch, right? That's going to be a rematch of a really high quality SEC game. Oregon's going to play Texas Tech. I think that's going to be a great game. I think that's going to be a great game, And so now we're talking about a set of playoffs. This playoffs is going to be so much better than last year because of the way these things are now ranked. The only way we need to take it another step. We need to get these James Madison and Tulane, 20th ranked Tulane, 24th ranked James Madison out, right? Especially when we've got teams like Vanderbilt and Notre Dame who were snubbed in this deal. How awesome would that be? Add Notre Dame to this thing playing Ole Miss and Notre Dame. Boy, talk about, you know, an over. Geez, what are we talking about? Like 68 on the over, maybe? Oh, goodness, I might take the over anyway. You know, Vandy and Oregon, dude. Diego Pavia taking on the Ducks. I mean, that would have been epic, epic. And so There has to be something. The committee was a freaking disaster. They fired the head guy in the middle of the thing. I mean, the whole thing was a freaking disaster. They every time they spoke, they said some nonsense. Look, maybe they just need computer rankings. And I understand the need for these conference champs, but maybe you put some sort of limit on that. Conference champs, top five conference champs ranked in the top 15, 18. But if you don't make the top 18, sorry, buddy, you're out. Let's go to an at large. You know, that's an easy solution. It's an easy solution because we want better football in the playoffs. We want matchups, man. And so that's going to get fixed. Something's going to happen this offseason because of the way this played out. Something's going to happen this offseason. They're either going to change it, or they're going to go to 16. I mean, just wait for it. This offseason for next year's playoffs, there's going to be a change, something that fixes this situation. And do you feel bad for Notre Dame? Whatever. Get in the conference, Not our problem. Kind of feel bad for Vandy, right? Because I mean, they went 10-2 in the SEC, man. They went 10-2 in the SEC and got snubbed. 10-2. That's incredible. You know what I mean? And so their two losses were to Bama and Texas. It was pretty good losses. Pretty good losses in tight ball games. So I almost feel worse for them. So look, man, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. You guys get the popcorn ready, baby. Get the popcorn ready. Let's go. Let's go get it. You know what I mean? Let's go get it. That's gonna be exciting. And not only is this exciting, the future of Aggie football is exciting. This is a good place to be for Aggie football. Now, questions from the tailgate. Brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams. Custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about you and the details you care about, contact Frida Homes. Just give Justin a call at 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everyone loves their Frida Homes. So question one, biggest things the Aggies need to focus on in their prep for Miami. So I think as an overall, and we've heard Elko talk already a couple of times, but as an overall, I think you have to get to a place where these guys are playing loose again. The offense has kind of really gotten tight. Let's get these explosive plays back in there, right? And as a coach and a coaching staff, it's a balancing act between loose and focused, right? And you got to be both. You got to be focused and you got to have your guys on point, mentally prepared, but yet just go out there and go play, right? When they're on the field, like what we always used to say when we were coaching, man, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, of course, is in high school, right? And Thursday, man, that's where you're putting when you're putting the work in, man. You're on their ass Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday's walkthrough days was the walkthrough days for us. And then Friday, man, once you're on the field, man, you just got to go play. You got to go play. You got to get loose and just go make plays, man. At that point, that's what it's about. That's what it's about, And so you got to go play free, go play loose, right, with instinct. You're at the end of the season, man. This is, the plays and the things that you're doing, you shouldn't be thinking anymore. This should all be reaction, man. Instinctive, man. By this point in the season, you should see and just play, right? Fast and loose. That's what it should be about. And so that's, I think, as an overall concept for this team, that's what they got to do. Defensively, offensively, all of it, right? Special teams, just, man, let the pressure go, man. This has been the best Aggie football season since ever. I don't know, since we won a national championship in 1939. I don't know. I mean, the only ones that compare, Johnny's first year, maybe. The Big 12 championship season, that was pretty good, right? 1992. I mean, you can name a couple that maybe you put it up, but this is about as good as it gets, man. It's about as good as it gets. And so, man, appreciate what you've done so far and understand that you're pretty good at what you're doing and just go out and play, you know? Offensively, specifically, what do they got to focus on offensively? They gotta they gotta get the playmakers easy touches, right? They gotta focus on figuring out how to get those playmakers making plays again. You know, we got to bring the explosives back to this offense. The big plays down the field, right? The big plays down the field. The big plays that were created by little quick passes that went down the field, right? Because we got the ball in the hands of these playmakers, Mario, KC, Bethel Roman, right? And let them go do something special, right? Doesn't have to be complicated, man. Just figure out easy ways to get those guys involved and back into the rhythm of this game. Let's get a guy out there for some big plays over the top. Let's get Marcel a little loose. Maybe, maybe uh get him loose early with a couple, maybe a running play or something, get him going. Because sometimes after he gets a big run play, man, he starts really getting it out there. But maybe a couple little short ones and man, let's see it happen, man. But let's start it early, right? Don't come out all conservative and yada yada. No, man, let's do this. Let's let these guys eat. You know, Jamarian Moore on a nice little pass play, something coming out of the backfield or something, right? You know, we've seen these different things that we've done throughout the year that, the last couple of weeks we really haven't been seeing as much. The ball out quick to those wide receivers. Give it to them on a zoom run, with those guys coming across, man. Whatever those things are, but let's create some explosives, man. That needs to be the offensive mindset right now. Let's because that's when you loosen up a defense. That's when you loosen up a quarterback. That's when you loosen up some playmakers. Everybody's getting out there and doing their thing, man, and let it fly, baby. Because here's the thing, we got one game. We got one game. Not, no need to be scared. You're just going out to play. You ain't got nothing to lose. You ain't got nothing to lose. You're not expected to win this thing, right? Just go out there and play, man. Play, have fun. Let's go get it, man. But do it by putting the ball in the hands of your best players, right? Of the guys that brought you here. Letting those guys go out and have a good time, go do what they do best, right? And that is make plays. Hopefully we got Le'Veon Moss back. Hopefully we got Le'Veon Moss back. Let that guy eat a little bit. Hit a couple folks, That'd be great. It'd be great. Let this offensive line get in there and do some work. But you got to get the offensive line back in a place where they're playing at their best. Physical. We weren't very physical a couple weeks ago. So offensively, that's what you got to do. Yeah, I think that's you got to figure out, hey, this is the things that you got to figure out is how are we going to get back to being explosive, baby. Defensively, got to simplify. Stop the run, baby. That's got to be number one, first of all. Got to stop the run. You got to get away from all these minutes. Simplify and run. Get your guys where they're recognizing and they're going fast. Let's get those guys running fast. Because I like it when those guys are playing fast. Be ready to bring some pressure. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You give up a play, you give up a play. Look, Miami's got some guys. A little freshman wide receivers. That guy's a dude. So they've got some guys. They're gonna make plays. That's okay. That's okay. Let your guys play fast. Defensively, simplify it. Get in there and make sure that we've got the angles and the positioning in order to be able to make plays and especially stop the run, baby. And then just go get him. Third down. Go get him. The heck with it. He's Carson Beck's a statue back there. That's what you got to work on. Question from tailgate number 2. Any concerns with Klein being continuing on as the play caller and offense coordinator throughout this playoff run. Honestly, this early part of it, I don't have a whole lot of concerns, especially game one. Um, but I think the longer this thing goes, because you guys got to remember, transfer portals happens at the beginning of January. He's got a team. He's got a team he's got to build out there, right? He's got a team he's got to build out there, which means he's going to have to start working on his players, getting his guys recruited from his team, his roster, and then figuring out where those holes are at for that roster, right? Where they're going to have to bring in players. And so he's got a lot of work to do on that Kansas State roster. So here, Miami, not too worried about it. But as things go forward, there is some concern there, and we'll figure out. We'll see what Elko does as that goes on. Maybe he shifts some of the work to another member of that coaching staff, right? And sees tries to move that around. But there is a little bit of concern as you go forward because he's going to have to start focusing on his Kansas State roster especially after the Miami game. And at that point, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for while you're also game planning for this game. And that's not to say anything bad about Colin Klein. I think Colin Klein is going to try to do his best job and do everything, whatever. But I don't think it's an easy thing, right? I think that's a lot to ask for from him. And Elko's talked about it though. They've got a plan. They've got a plan on how they want to handle this. And I'm sure that plan includes what to do as this thing goes forward, especially as Colin has to take some time to go do the other, right? And so, he's got a plan. And hey, listen, he's got us to this point. This is where we're at. It's fine. We're gonna believe in that plan for right now. And ultimately, it sounds like, as you hear Elko talk about this offense coordinator situation for next year, we'll talk about that later on. But I think it sounds like he's already got a pretty good idea of where he's going with this. Who do we think it is? I don't know. I don't know. I you know, guys that I think about, that I would give a call. I mean, I don't know if you can do this, but if you can pull the offense coordinator at Tech, you can pull him out of there, boy. That'd be a hell of a hire. I think that's a tough sell. I think that's a tough sell, mind you. Um, they're in the playoffs, right? So it's not like you're taking it from just some punk, but that's a good one. How about the Texas State offense coordinator? That's a guy you can go get. I mean, but the guy at Vandy, Tim Beck. You know, I don't know. Uh, but there's some other guys, East Carolina, John David Baker, uh, Toledo. Some teams that ran the football, by the way, because these guys gonna have a background running the football, but can also sling it around a little bit, right? And have some explosiveness to their offenses. So, it sounds to me from listening to him, he's got that covered. He knows it almost seems to me like they know where they're going with that offense coordinator hire. So guys, we'll be back next week. Talk a lot of Miami next week in that matchup. Go really deep down into the specifics of position by position kind of deal. Right now, Gig 'em Aggies, AP signing out from the tailgate.